everyone. It's your good friend Wendy, and you're listening to the Reaching Out with Reach podcast. This is the show that brings you discussions and topics surrounding our community, prevention, and recovery. On this episode, Heather joins us to talk about the importance of sleep in relation to our mental health. Take it away, Heather.
Daylight savings time is just right around the corner again this year. In March every year, millions of people living in the United States set their clocks 1 hour forward and then 1 hour back in the fall. Of course, there are some states who do not observe daylight saving time, such as Hawaii and Arizona, and U.S. territories like Guam and Puerto Rico. That just leaves the majority of the United States to observe daylight saving time, as well as 70 other countries in the world. The purpose of daylight saving time was to create a way to save energy and to get more use out of the natural daylight. This can be dated back in the 1900s, when war times wanted to conserve more energy. But considering time change, how does it really affect people, especially with their mental health? According to a research article done by Northeastern University in 2023, any disruption to a person's sleep can be critical. Sleep is such a crucial part to support healthy brain function and maintaining physical health. Sleep also affects the way a person thinks, reacts, works, learns, interacts with other people. If there's an inadequate amount of sleep over time, research has shown that it can raise the risk for chronic health problems, such as high blood pressure and heart disease. So sleep is pretty important here. But what does it have to do with a person's mental health? Considering sleep affects healthy brain function, sleep especially affects a person's brain to work properly. According to the National Heart, Lung, and Blood Institute, sleep helps the brain to get ready for the next day. New pathways are formed to help improve learning and remembering information. Furthermore, sleep affects the way we cope with change, and most importantly, sleep affects something called emotional regulation. Emotional regulation is the ability to respond to ongoing demands of experience with a range of emotions. Emotions are socially tolerable and sufficiently flexible to permit spontaneous reactions or delay spontaneous reactions. In other words, emotional regulations help us control our emotions so that we do not overreact and act calmly. It helps us exert control over our own emotional state. Example behaviors of this include rethinking a challenging situation to reduce anger or anxiety, hiding visible signs of sadness or fear, or focusing on reasons to feel happy or calm. Loss of sleep or disruption of sleep can also be seen as a symptom of many mental health disorders, such as anxiety and mood disorders like depression. Other research has found that children and teens who lacked getting adequate sleep showed increased feelings of depression, confusion, and anger. This may cause youth to not get along with others and show impulsive behaviors. Sleep plays a part in some risk-taking behaviors because there's a lack of attention and awareness when we do not get enough sleep. The long-term effects of sleep deprivation include memory issues, mood changes, weakened immunity, and trouble with thinking and concentration. So think about this. Every morning, when we get a good, restful amount of sleep, we feel fresh to start a new day. There are generally feelings of hope to tackle the day and readiness to interact with others. There are positive feelings to start the day. If we lack a good night's sleep, we feel groggy and don't look forward to the day ahead. We may be irritated, angry, or just too tired to think. So by the end of the day, we're ready to go back to bed and restart the next day. Sleep helps regulate our feelings and how we are able to process most of our days. It goes back to the idea mentioned earlier, that sleep helps us reset for the next day by processing all that has happened to us throughout the day. Sleep allows our brains to catch up, so to speak, and to save the new data for the long-term storage. It has been widely accepted that sleep plays a role in processing daily stressors and emotions. Without it, or just having a lack of sleep, we keep building onto the experiences of the day. That may then in turn more anger, more irritation, more sadness, or more some negative emotion. If we continue to fester on these types of emotions, we face the risk of harming our mental health. Of course, this doesn't mean sleep allows us to forget what has happened to us the day before. Sleep just helps us reset ourselves so that we can be better equipped to revisit the previous day's stressors or continue to a new day with a fresh mind. So how can I get better sleep if I'm just so busy? Just because how the world is today, there are many things that keep us from getting a good night's sleep. And sometimes we let sleep be our last priority in our lives. So whether you are busy because of your job, being a student in school, or just having children, there are always definitely ways where you can get a good night's sleep. For starters, try setting a schedule. What I mean by this is try to keep a schedule every night of when to go to bed and when to wake up. And we want to try to just keep that going every night. In a perfect world, going to bed at the same time every night and waking up at the same time every morning would be great for sleep. Of course, we don't exist in a perfect world, and life can be hard sometimes to find time just for ourselves. So just make adjustments as needed. If you want to go to bed at 10 p.m. every night and wake up at 6:30 a.m., you can try that. And maybe it works out for you. If something comes up and you don't go to bed until like midnight, you can still try to get up at 6:30, or you can sleep until 8 a.m. That is, of course, if you can sleep in. But if you cannot and you have to get up at 6:30 a.m., try to figure out time to take a 10 to 20 minute nap throughout your day. Whether that be on your lunch break or just taking some time on a break in general to sleep. You can always shift your time and adjust as you need it to. That way so that you can catch up on this lost sleep that you had. Another way to get better sleep is to limit the amount of caffeine. According to research, caffeine blocks sleep-promoting receptors in the brain called adenosine. Of course, caffeine doesn't stay in your body forever, but according to the Federal Drug Administration, or the FDA, caffeine can last between 4 to 6 hours in the body. So if you need coffee, just plan to cut off your caffeine intake around 2 or 3 p.m. So that way you can have a good night's sleep. Another thing that is suggested is to take time before bed to just wind down. Because we live in a busy world, the idea of taking time to wind down before bed seems a little bit hard, especially with social media and things watching videos constantly before bed seems like a way of winding down. It's not really a way of winding down. So the idea of turning off your phone and putting it on Do Not Disturb and turning off any other electronics is the more beneficial way of helping. Instead, you can try to read a book or a magazine. You can drink some sleepy tea if you think that will help you. You can take a bath, listen to music. You can do a crossword puzzles or do some body stretches or yoga. And you can also meditate. So whatever you find enjoyment in doing that's not involving in electronics, the idea is that you want to try that an hour before bed. This is taking time for yourself and allowing your body to just relax. This allows you not to also think about any of the stressors from the day and kind of help you find the enjoyment in whatever you're doing. Your body and your mind will naturally relax in these other ways. Of course, there are many other tips out there that could help you find the sleep you need. Everyone is different and unique, so finding that one that works best for you will help you find that most enjoyable amount of sleep you need. Because with sleep, we are taking care of ourselves and our mental health.
Thanks, Heather, for the tips on getting enough sleep and limiting our caffeine. That's one I need to work on. Well, that about wraps up our episode. As always, if you're wondering how you can help, you can join our coalition meetings. You can also support our youth and family programs with a tax-deductible donation or food gift cards. And if you have any questions, you can email us at info@reachcouncil.org. That's info@reachcouncil.org. Or you can follow us at Reach Council on Facebook or Instagram. Thanks for listening to our show. Stay tuned for ongoing monthly podcasts from our REACH teams on all things prevention and recovery. So remember, life is full of choices, so choose happy and choose healthy. Bye.